This podcast is about the bell ringing campaign for the Salvation Army in Grinnell and also the Montezuma Food Pantry. Bruce Blankenfeld is organizing the bell ringers in Grinnell, and if you would like to volunteer your time, give Bruce a call at 641-990-1152. They have several dates available, and bell ringing is available starting on the night of Jingle Bell Holiday in Grinnell, and then also available for bell ringing at Walmart, Fairway, and Hy-Vee. It's also sponsored by Grinnell Realty. With a chill in the air and Christmas cheer around the corner, this means it's time once again for the annual toy drive at Grinnell Realty. It's their 14th annual toy drive, and they're asking for your help with making a child's Christmas a merry one by donating a new toy. To make this happen, please take a new and unwrapped toy to their office at 803 6th Avenue on the corner of 6th and Main. They say thank you to the Christmas Shares and Second Mile organizations for their toy distribution. And they ask that you please note the early toy drop-off date is December 6th. They say a gracious thank you from Grinnell Realty. Joan and Robin and the gang there at Grinnell Realty would love to have you stop on by with a new toy. Also sponsored by Grinnell State Bank, with locations not only in Grinnell, but Johnston, Marengo, and Polk City. It's very easy to get started with an account. You can get started with an account at Grinnell State Bank in just 15 minutes. If you're not sure what you need, check out Simply Banking and open your accounts online or in person at any of their 4 locations. Also by Total Choice Shipping and Printing, want to thank Alicia and Corey for sponsoring this podcast. Total Choice now offering FedEx's one rate just in time for the holiday season. 2-day rental shipping, 1 flat rate. FedEx One Rate offers 4 different sizes of boxes and 1 size envelope. Each size of FedEx box and envelope will have its own price, and as long as it fits inside and is shipped within the U.S., it's a flat rate price starting at $17.95. This Out and About with Jamie Grout podcast comes from Montezuma, and we're talking to 2 ladies who are involved in the communities, not only of Montezuma, but also of Grinnell. First of all, let's go over to my right, your name and your title.
I'm Darla Wilson, and I am the chairman of the Poweshiek County Salvation Army Service Extension 261.
Great.
It's a volunteer position, and I have, for the last 20 years, served in the role of the welfare secretary and the treasurer for the 261. But when Pastor George Salnave retired December of 2022, then I took over his position of chairman.
All right, great. Pass the microphone on over to her.
I'm Karen Meek, and I'm the secretary/treasurer for, I work with Darla. I also have a partner. Her name is Annette Deering, and she serves as well as secretary-treasurer.
Well, fantastic. Well, let's first of all talk about the Salvation Army bell ringing. And I first found out, I didn't even know, because I've been in Newton much of my life and not as familiar with Grinnell, but Salvation Army bell ringing is going on. And this is the time of year for people to sign up for this. Any idea between the two of you how long this has been going on in Grinnell?
Ringing the bell?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've been a part of the Salvation Army, I believe, for 23 years.
Wow.
And probably 20 of that, I believe, we've rang in Grinnell.
And do you know the locations where the bell ringing is going to be going on this year?
I don't. I can't tell you for sure. I haven't talked to Bruce.
Mm-hmm.
Generally, in the past, we've done Walmart, Fairway, Hy-Vee, Tyson's.
Okay.
And we've had kettles, little miniature kettles in different places. I don't know who all he has contacted this year.
Okay. And people can contact Bruce too. And if you want to contact Bruce, all you have to do is go to What's Up Grinnell, and you'll find his phone number there under the Salvation Army bell ringing. Do either of you know where the funds go to for Salvation Army? Because you don't really have a Salvation Army office here, but they go to, I think, the General Salvation Army. Do they not?
Service extension units are a branch into the community. So funds raised locally in the Red Kettle campaign stay local to help people and help also invest back into the community. So 90% of what comes in the Red Kettle campaign stays to help with local needs within that county. Service extension units service area.
in Poweshiek County.
Correct.
Oh, that is fantastic. All right.
Yes.
And so, what is your function with the Salvation Army in this whole campaign going on?
Well, once the funds have been received, then we can start giving out funds to people that are in need. We ask that, first of all, is this for your utilities or rent? And then we determine how much they owe on whatever bill it is. And I take the first call. And they tell me where they live. I ask them if they have an ID. I ask them if they have a lease, if it's for rent. Utility bill, I need a copy of that. And then I contact Annette and I find out what her schedule is. And then I contact that person and I tell them what our schedules are, what is their schedule. It's most important about them. Annette and I work around them. So then we meet here. And the reason that we meet here is because we need a signature on the check.
Mm-hmm.
And it's been very, very rewarding.
I was going to say,
it has.
You probably have some good news stories to tell about the funds that have been distributed.
Oh, yes. In fact, last year, I just started in January. So when she says 23 years, my goodness.
Oh.
So Darla would be the chair of our county. And so we sometimes will contact her as well. I keep track of who we're giving the funds to. We make a file for them. We look and see. It has to be a full year before we can give them any funds again. And then it's up to $200 is the most that we can help them with. We determine how, let's say they owe $800 for their rent, then I can give them $200. So we do 25% of the amount that's due. And it's changed somewhat because a lot of the people now have their leases on their phones. Mm-hmm. So I ask them to text me a copy of the lease, and then I make a copy of it for their file. Same with the utility bills. In some cases, it's also on their phone now. So that's been really interesting. And then I do contact the utility companies, wherever that is. But Annette, and then when Annette gets here, Annette is the one that writes out the check. And then I'm doing like helping set up the folder. Mm-hmm. And I think her and I have worked really well together. And then having Darla at the head of it.
Well, and Darla, I wanted to get you to jump in and tell me about your stories also.
Oh, well, I just wanted to clarify, first of all, that checks are not ever made out to an individual.
Yes.
Okay.
They're made out to, like, let's say for the rent and for whatever entity that they have to pay for as far as the bill is concerned. Mm-hmm.
And then I would also just like to say that we don't make up these rules. We follow a Salvation Army policy book of procedures.
I see. Okay. Well, you have been doing this for 23 years, Darla. Tell us about some of the good news stories and the people that you've interacted with over the years, and how your organization and the funds raised and whatnot have helped people out.
Well, for some people, the three of us sitting here, for just an example, let's say there are other things that the Salvation Army can help with according to our policy book besides just rent and utilities. Some of those things are for auto repair, and that, of course, has to be approved by the Omaha office, but prescriptions. And I have run across a few situations with people that have diabetes for one reason or another. I don't know what has happened in the situation where they can't access their insulin, or I haven't quite reached the age of Medicare yet, but there's some sort of out of pocket that's pretty expensive at the beginning of the year.
Diabetes meds are through the roof.
Yes.
Oh, it's terrible.
Mm-hmm. And I can just remember helping several elderly people who just sobbed in the office once they realized this was going to be a life-saving situation for them. Mm-hmm. Especially, I remember one that had gone, I think, almost 4 days without insulin.
Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, and just that's the one that comes to the top of my mind.
Yeah.
And Karen, you've seen it as well. Some of the elderly
Yes.
that just simply cannot make it on fixed income,
And
and for
that's-
one reason or another, whether that was a hospital stay that threw them behind on
yes.
their rent,
Mhm.
or yeah, the motto of the Salvation Army, one of the mottos is doing the most good,
Hmm.
or need knows no season. And I definitely would stand behind that one. You, Karen?
Yes, I would as well. With me, it has been the people that are just getting back on their feet. And like Darla said, they've had a setback. And I've got a job, and they're so excited about it. And then we do provide a resource list for them and make sure that they know all the other groups that can help them as well. And so it's always really, really nice that we're able to do that. And then meeting here and with Annette also works here at the food pantry. So sometimes she's able to tell them what the rules are here, and if we can help them here as well.
So let's transition to the food pantry and talk a little bit about that. What is the area you serve with the food pantry?
So just to clarify, though, that the Montezuma Food Pantry is not supported by any of the funds from the Salvation Army. I
Okay.
just wanted to make that.
Sure.
So what was your question again? I'm so sorry.
Well, I mean, what is the area that the food pantry distributes to for those in need?
Okay. So the Montezuma Food Pantry service area is the Montezuma Community School District and the other smaller surrounding towns in Poweshiek County. We do serve anyone that is in the state of Iowa, but if they would come in here, they would get a pre-made, outside our service area, they would get a pre-made box of government items and a package of meat.
Wow. Any statistics on how many people you've helped out through the food pantry here in the last year or so?
That would here for Salvation Army.
Well, for either Salvation Army and or the food
Okay.
pantry.
For
specifically.
Salvation Army, 41 people. We distributed $7,125.
Wow.
And then, so yes, it's each one is different, what their needs are, and just like I said, we have rules. Like Darla said, we have rules we have to follow, and we just whatever the top is that we can give them, we will help them with that.
I just would also like to say that out of that Red Kettle campaign of last year, where I think roughly, you would have to check with Bruce for sure, it was a little over $13,000, I believe.
Wow.
So about a third of that bell ringing money went to special projects within our county, in addition to those assistances that Karen just spoke about.
Wow, that is fantastic. I applaud both of you on your hard work and everybody else involved in this. As far as the food pantry is concerned, what kind of items could people donate to it? Or are you in need of?
Well, right now I've just, so I am the director for the Montezuma Food Pantry, and right now we've just spent a nice little bundle of money on making sure that we have things on the shelf for Thanksgiving.
Sure, that's great.
So right now, I feel like we're pretty well stocked.
Good.
Now, at the end of November, the shelves are going to start looking
Depleted.
Yeah, a little depleted in that area. And so some of the things that the elderly like to have that I currently don't have here on the shelf are canned peaches,
Okay.
or canned mandarin oranges. They also like to have those little Vienna sausages that you can buy at Dollar General. I don't have any of those.
How about toiletries?
Toiletries. I would just like to share a little story with you. So we were keeping toilet paper stocked on the shelf. We also had baby wipes out there. And so I noticed that people were not taking the toilet paper. And so one night when I was working on Thursday night, I just decided that maybe I'd do a little bit of a survey and ask a few of the people. I'm very familiar with almost our whole clientele. And so I think I probably asked 6 to 10, and the majority of them said to me, we prefer to have the baby wipes because we can stock up on those for when we don't have water and sewer.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
Right. And,
Yeah.
and so our priority
Sure.
is to keep the the wipes out there on the shelf
Wow.
over the toilet paper. So again, unless you are hands-on, possibly running a food pantry, unless you're hands-on here when the people are coming in, you're seeing the need, you're in tune with that. I think that's probably the best way to run the food pantry. Is
Wow.
hands-on, and we have a hands-on board. So
Okay. Getting back to the Red Kettle campaign for the Salvation Army, I believe, now tell me if I'm wrong, I don't know when it starts in Grinnell. I know in Newton it starts like on November 15th. Does that sound like a date that might be going on in Grinnell?
It seemed like it was always around Thanksgiving. Darla, do you know have you heard? Is that changed?
well, when Pastor George was the chairman, and he was also our bell ringing coordinator, he always chose to do it the Friday after Thanksgiving.
I see.
However, that was in the day of the Black Friday sales.
Oh, sure.
And now we have Black Friday sales already starting.
Mhm.
So I honestly don't know. That would be determined by Bruce,
Okay.
I guess.
Yeah.
And also, I believe that he has to okay that if it's early with our Omaha divisional office. So.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I'm going to find out from Bruce. I'll talk to him after this podcast because I know he's looking for bell ringers and there are certain dates available for it also. So I'll give him a call and we'll post that when we post the podcast too. If people want to help out with the food pantry, whether it be a financial donation or whether it be after Thanksgiving, how can they go about doing that?
So Deb Vermeer is our treasurer for the Montezuma Food Pantry. They can send donations to the Montezuma Food Pantry, financial donations to Post Office Box 189 here in Montezuma. Right now, we used to be able to rely on companies to donate to the food banks. And boy, companies are really struggling right now. Food banks are really struggling. We get probably 80% of the things we purchase from our food bank in the past. Right now, we are spending quite a bit of retail establishments to put things on the shelf. I would just like to say that General Mills used to be a large donator to the food banks or Feeding America, and we had a nice selection of cereal for children and the elderly, but we don't right now.
Oh.
We do have multi-grain Cheerios and Cheerios, but it'd be nice to go out and maybe purchase or have people purchase some cereal that they see on sale and bring in.
Sure.
That would be one thing.
Now, do you get any assistance from the Food Bank of Iowa at all?
That is not our food bank.
Okay.
Our food bank is the Northeast Iowa Food Bank.
Oh, sure. I've worked with them many times.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I can't say enough great things about that particular food bank.
In fact, I worked in Waterloo for 10 years and I was involved in food drives over, I think, Thanksgiving weekend. And over the years, we collected over 200 tons of food for the Northeast Iowa Food Bank. Now, is there any charge at all? Because I know that if you gave a donation to the food bank, it paid for the transportation to get, let's say, from Quaker Oats in Cedar Rapids back to Waterloo and that kind of thing. Do you know if there's any transportation costs involved in getting the food to and from point A to point B?
Depending on the size of your food pantry, you're put into a category. We are a strategic food pantry because of the volume that we're purchasing, the volume that's going out the door to the clients. We're put into that category. So there is no cost to our delivery when they come. And we do have a truck. It arrived this morning. We have a truck every Thursday morning.
Oh, fantastic. Mm-hmm. Anything else you two would like to add before we wrap this up?
I would just say for the Salvation Army to, if you want the funds to stay in this county,
yes.
You would make it out your checks out to Salvation Army number 261.
Okay.
And then you would mail them to Post Office Box 189 here in Montezuma, 50171.
Okay, fantastic.
And the same way, if they're putting checks into the Red Kettle, 261 identifies us here for Powesheik County, Iowa.
261, box 261. Sounds good.
No, not box.
Oh, just 261.
Yeah,
okay.
It's Service Extension Unit 261.
Okay. Yes. Thank you for correcting me on that. Okay. Yeah, wanted to make sure we got that right. Well, thank you very much, and happy holidays to you, ladies. And again, as I told you as we were walking into the building, I like to do interviews with people who are community good doers, and you too, and your crew certainly are that. So thank you very much for taking the time to talk with me today. Until next time, grrr out is out. See ya.